leverage got flushed and selling fed on itself. And here's a big headline that caught everyone's attention. MicroStrategy is now underwater. For the first time since October 2023, MicroStrategy's massive Bitcoin position has slipped into unrealized losses after Bitcoin briefly traded below $76,000. That's a major psychological shift because MicroStrategy has been seen as the ultimate high conviction Bitcoin holder. Bitcoin has since stabilized in the 77 to 81,000 range, but the damage
is already done. No major hack, no single headline trigger, just classic crypto volatility, thin liquidity, especially during the weekend, leverage and fear hitting all at once. So today we are going to break this down clearly and calmly. What actually happened? So what caused this major sell-off during the weekend? Why geopolitical risk is suddenly back in focus, and whether this move is temporary flush or something more serious. So I think my mic is on mute, or I'm fine right now. Just let me know. Well, without further ado, let's dive into the first news I want to cover, because geopolitical tension is rising again. And of course, speaking of geopolitics, we have to talk about Iran and US. And this is not just tough talk anymore. Warnings are getting sharper, and one wrong move could change everything. So let's break it down clearly and calmly, step by step. What is happening right now? So Iran is warning of a regional war if it is attacked. Meanwhile, the US is building up military forces near Iran, and both sides said they are open to talks, but only on their own terms. Just a quick recap. So how did we get from here? This did not come from nowhere. Several things are happening at once. First, Iran's nuclear program is back in focus. So last year, US in Israel strikes slowed it down, but of course it did not stop it completely. Second, Iran has faced massive protests since late 2025. The government cracked down hard. Official numbers said thousands were killed, but right groups say the real number is actually a lot higher, possibly more than 30,000 deaths. Third, Europe labeled Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group. Iran responded by calling European armies terrorist forces. So that raised the temperature fast. So what Iran is saying right now, so basically the supreme leader from Iran has issued a clear warning. If the US attacks Iran, the conflict will spread across the region. Iran says US demands are not realistic at all. They refuse to give up the missile program, the regional allies, and of course the nuclear ambitions. From Iran's views, those demands threaten the survival of the entire regime of the entire country. So what the US is doing right now is Donald Trump is sending a very strong signal. So an aircraft carrier strike group is now in the region. Advanced fighter jets are on standby. Missile defense systems are being deployed to protect allies. Donald Trump says he wants a new nuclear deal, but he has also warned if talks fail, the next strike will be far worse. That combination, like talks plus threats, is intentional pressure. So the real danger is here. So both sides are trying to scare the other without starting a war. But military forces are now operating very close to each other. So there are live fire drills, naval patrols, drones, and missiles. In a situation like this, mistakes could happen, and mistakes can escalate fast. That's why everyone in the market is so concerned, and this is one of the reasons why we have seen such a huge crash in the market. If this could indeed turn into a war, so the risk is going to be higher than normal, but war, of course, at this point as what most analysts are saying, looks like war is not guaranteed. Some analysts think limited strikes are likely. That could mean attacks on Iranian military targets. So instead of a full invasion, a full regional war is still seen very unlikely at this stage. But if Iran retaliates widely, things could spiral out of control. Oil markets are already watching very closely, so any disruption could send energy prices sharply higher. So speaking of which, let's hop on to the oil price. So let's look at the chart right now. So there is a okay, we are looking at the past month performance. I mean, past month is not doing okay, it is up a little bit, so it's up 0.18%. Of course, because there was a huge decrease, a huge drop in the oil's price because of the capture of the Venezuelan president. But on the general trend, so if we zoom out on the 1 month chart, it's still going to the upside on the right. So of course, Russia is watching this charts very closely as well, because there's any disruption, Russia is not going to be happy as well. So there are still breaks on escalation. For example, US airlines in the Middle East still do not want war. And Iran knows a full conflict would hurt its economy very badly. Donald Trump also wants leverage, like not a long war. Iran, on the other hand, they want survival, not a full collapse. That creates space for de-escalation. So here's the clean takeaway for this news. The US and Iran are playing a high-stakes pressure game. Military power is on display. Diplomacy is still still alive, but very fragile at this point. This is not inevitable war, but it is a moment where miscalculation could change history entirely. For markets, energy prices, and global stability, this is a story you definitely cannot ignore. And of course, we'll be tracking it very closely here on Roxanne TV. So more news coming from Donald Trump, and this is a sudden shift, and it does matter. Just days after threatening to cut off Cuba's remaining oil supply, Donald Trump now says the US is in direct talks with Cuba's leadership. So let's break it down. So what Donald Trump just said, so speaking in Florida, Donald Trump said the US is talking to the highest people in Cuba. He suggested a deal could be reached, but gave no details. This comes right after he warned that any country supplying oil to Cuba could face US penalties. So why the threat was so serious right now? So Donald Trump recently approved new measures targeting oil shipments to Cuba. His message is loud and simple and clear. So Cuba is running out of money and fuel, and pressure will increase unless Havana agrees to US terms. He framed it as avoiding a humanitarian crisis if Cuba negotiates. The response was fast on Cuba's side, so fuel lines stretched across Havana, blackout worsened, transport and food distribution were disrupted, and Cuba officials accused Washington of trying to strangle the economy. So here we have some footage of the blackout, and it has lasted for quite some time, for a few days. So the entire country, they are on a blackout, so there is no power. Is of course affecting the locals very much. And these are just some horrible footages that the locals are going through. So why the US is pushing right now? Like timing wise, this is a very strategic move from Donald Trump, and it makes sense to apply all the pressure, especially right now on Cuba. Since the collapse of support from Venezuela, Cuba's energy situation has become critical. So Trump's administration has openly used economic pressure as leverage, arguing is the only way to force talks. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has backed this approach, calling for political change in Havana. And here's the big question everyone is asking. So the shift from threats to dialogue suggests one of two things. So either the pressure is working, so US and Donald Trump is placing a lot of pressure on Cuba for a very long time, or Washington wants a deal before the situation spirals further out of control. So clean takeaway for this news, the US just moved from escalation to negotiation, but from a position of maximum pressure, especially local experiencing this blackout. So Cuba is facing several fuel shortages. The US is holding energy assets as leverage. Whether this leads to real diplomacy or another round of brinkmanship is still unclear. But one thing is certain, this is the most serious moment in US and Cuba relations or general geopolitics in years. And the outcome will be shaped as much by economic as by politics. Regardless, we're going to keep a close eyes here on Roxanne TV. We'll take a short break for now, and coming back to you, we also have Sam Bankman-Fried praising Donald Trump in prison. So we're going to get into his tweets and maybe some the reason why he's doing such thing. Pardon talk. So the pardon talk is bag is on the table again. Let's see the likelihood of Sam Bankman-Fried getting pardoned. So stay with us.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
He's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the centre of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're travelling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxum, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxum, rock-solid markets.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Welcome back to Roxham TV, and thanks for sticking with us. We're now diving into Sam Bankman-Fried tweets in prison because he just made some of the strangest political pivots in crypto history, and he's definitely raising a lot of eyebrows. So Sam Bankman-Fried, of course, the former FTX CEO, he's now suddenly praising President Trump, and he's praising hard. So he made a series of expose that Donald Trump was right for crypto. So it's happening right after his former partner, Caroline Ellison, walked out free. So let's break this down. Sam Bankman-Fried has been posting publicly yet again. So if we scroll down, here's a screenshot of exactly what he said. So Donald Trump is right on crypto. He also said, but the Biden administration bungled crypto. He is attacking US regulators for over-regulating the industry. This is a complete reversal from where he stood before FTX collapsed. The timing-wise is very interesting as well. So these comments that he made came just days after Caroline Ellison was released from prison. She served about 440 days for her role in the FTX and Alameda collapse. That release changed the optics. So suddenly, Sam Bankman-Fried is louder than ever. For many people watching, this does not feel like a coincidence. Because like before the FTX collapse, Sam Bankman-Fried was a major Democratic donor. He was closely aligned with the Biden administration. Now he is doing the opposite on Twitter. He said global leaders were fed up with Biden. He blames former SEC chair, so Gary Gensler, for regulatory overreach. And he's right now praising Donald Trump's pro-crypto appointment. So that is a sharp turn. Sam Bankman-Fried right now is just not just talking about regulation, he's also praising Donald Trump's foreign policy, including recent hardline moves overseas. He called them smart and gutsy. This sounds less like a policy debate and more like someone trying to send a signal or maybe get some attention. So let's be clear. Sam Bankman-Fried is serving a 25-year prison sentence. He was convicted on 7 felony counts, so fraud, money laundering, and he's currently appealing his conviction. Nothing about that has changed yet. Okay, here's where speculation comes in. So prediction market, if we hop on to poly market, and there's a poll right now, who will Donald Trump pardon before 2027? So there are different candidates on this list. If we scroll down, of course, we're going to see the name of Sam Bankman-Fried. So right here is about 16%. So that is, of course, not the highest on this list, but it's not zero. Legal experts said this kind of public pivot is something high-profile inmates sometimes try during appeals and post-conviction battles. Like, in my opinion, just maybe remove his access to Wi-Fi once and for all, for God's sake. Online reaction about Sam Bankman-Fried has been mixed and very intense. So some see this as desperation. Some see this as a strategy to get Trump's attention from Sam Bankman-Fried. So here's the clean takeaway. Sam Bankman-Fried is still behind bars. His conviction still stands. No pardon yet is on the table. But his sudden praise of Donald Trump right after Caroline Ellison's release, that is not subtle. This looks less like politics and more like survival, in my own opinion. In crypto, narratives move fast. In prison, incentives are very clear. So, of course, we'll be keep watching how this goes, and especially on the poly market poll as well. Moving on to more news, and this time is in India because this is a big supply chain story and it has global implications. India just made it much easier for Apple to build iPhone there. And this move is clearly aimed at pulling more manufacturing away from China. So let's break it down. India changes tax and trade rules to support Apple's factory expansion. So those those two key moves, they include it removed like a major tax risk tied to foreign funded factory equipment, and it cut import tariffs on critical manufacturing inputs. Together, this clears one of the biggest roadblocks Apple has faced in India. So Apple, of course, it pumped a little bit on the news, not like a huge pump. So 5%, past 5 days, 3.24%. So that's not bad. And this does matter for Apple because, like, until now, Apple had a problem. If Apple paid for expensive factory machines used by its partners, it risked being taxed on its profits under India's rules. Because of that, suppliers like Foxconn and Tata had to pay for most equipment themselves. That, of course, will slow down expansion and raise costs. Under the new system right now, Apple can now fund factory machinery in special bonded zones for up to 5 years without triggering extra taxes. Lawyers and industry experts say this removes a huge investment risk. And at the same time, India cut import duties on key materials as well. So this includes parts of electronics, batteries, solar glasses, and more. So the goal is simple: is to lower costs, reduce reliance on China, and make India more competitive in global supply chains. Apple has been increasing production in China, but high costs and unclear rules were holding things back. Now, suppliers can move faster. They can invest in better machines and larger production lines, and Apple gets more flexibility in how it funds that growth. The tax exemption runs through the 2030 to 2031 tax year, which gives long-term certainty. So iPhone right now, locally, make up about 8% of India's smartphone market, double what it was just a few years ago. India's share of global iPhone production has climbed to around 25%. China's still dominant, but it's also riskier political and commercially. But India government is very determined to turn India into a global manufacturing hub. So they aim to cut tax, to cut tariffs, and attract multinational companies. This is about jobs, exports, and long-term economic power. So for Apple, this means faster expansion outside China. For India, it's a clear signal to global companies. So if you want to diversify supply chains, India is open for business. This is not just about iPhones, it's about who controls the next chapter of global manufacturing. So we will take a short break for now, and coming back to you, we're also going to dive into Bitcoin. So how Bitcoin has been doing, especially over the weekend. There's a huge crash. We're going to dive into the price analysis, the TA of Bitcoin, and also what are the possible reasons of such a mass liquidation that we've seen over the weekend. So do stay with us.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
He's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the centre of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're travelling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxum, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxum, rock-solid markets.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick. Monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Welcome back to Roxham TV, and thanks for sticking around with us. We are now diving or breaking down into what happened for Bitcoin over the weekend, because Bitcoin crashed to 74K. Again, it depends on which exchange you look at. But it was a very scary time, and turns out like most of the reasons or the blame that people like to place is finance again. So this was, okay, 10/10 liquidation day. It was just supposed to be another liquidation event, but even months later, the damage is still here. Bitcoin keeps sliding. Liquidity hasn't fully recovered, and one names just keep coming up over and over again on Twitter is Binance. So let's break it down clearly and simply. So for those of you who don't know about 10/10, like you consider yourself as extremely lucky individual. So on 10/10, crypto saw about $19 billion in liquidation in a single day. Bitcoin dropped more than 12%, its worst fall in over a year. Leverage positions across exchanges were forced close as prices collapsed. At first, this looked routine because it's crypto market, right? It's always volatile, big move, high leverage, forced liquidations. But what came after is what really changed the market. So why this event just won't go away? And even right now, we are in February, so 2nd of February, we are still suffering from this liquidation event. So the market conditions ever since 10th of October have not healed. Liquidity is thinner, order books are weaker, and bid-ask the spreads are becoming wider. Many traders say this broken market structure helped push Bitcoin price from around 125K down towards like 70 something K. Confidence never fully came back in crypto or in Bitcoin. Binance, of course, is at the center of this, and everyone is putting the blame and putting the finger at Binance. I mean, that is justifiable because Binance is the world's largest crypto exchange. It dominates derivatives trading. So when something breaks, that's where people look at first. So on social media, many traders accuse Binance of causing this crash. Some claim that was an internal system issue. Others point to a lack of transparency after the event. Binance strongly denies this, of course. So the company says there was no internal failure. It says the crash was driven by market forces, not software problems. The debate heated up when a high-profile investor said the crash may have caused by a Binance software glitch that triggered massive deleveraging. Binance responded very quickly, so executives called the claim far-fetched. They said core systems stay online the entire time. Binance also said it paid hundreds of millions of dollars just to compensate affected users. But for many traders, that explanation alone is not enough. Because like traders right now, they are looking for a target to put a blame on. Everyone is so angry at crypto in the crypto market. For critics, the $19 billion, so that number, become symbolic. They say, so they see the compensation as small compared to the damage. The anger isn't just about one day, it's about trust. So, and trust is very fragile when prices keep falling and no clear post-mortem exits. So not everyone, of course, would blame Binance. So some industry leaders disagree with that accusation. They say 1010 was a classic flash crash. The argument is simple. It's just like too much leverage going on in the market, too little liquidity, and it was a bad moment in crypto. In those conditions, market makers step back. So spreads would widen, liquidations accelerate. Binance may have been where the crash was most visible, but not necessarily where it started. So the real problem, so here's a bigger issue, like crypto liquidity depends heavily on leverage and confidence. In bull markets, order books would look very strong. In stress, that liquidity disappear really fast because people still think crypto as a very risk-on asset. Arguably, I think Bitcoin is not, but like as for altcoins, you guys, if you have been watching my show, you know my stance. So without those deep, stable bits, prices would fall hard, especially for altcoins. And once confidence breaks, it takes time to repeat. That's what traders say we are still dealing with today, even like after 10 then for like after a few months. In traditional markets, major crashes like this would get formal investigation, but crypto, of course, we don't have that. Without a clear public review, rumors and conspiracy theories fill the gap. And when liquidity is weak, those stories gain even more traction. And one thing very interesting about Binance, so they updated this just yesterday. So Binance committing $1 billion from Southview Fund to Bitcoin purchases. So they announced they're going to put this $1 billion, this Southview Fund set up in 2018 into Bitcoin over the next 30 days. If market swings drop the fund below $800 million, Binance would top it back to $1 billion. this echoes a 2023 move that saw Bitcoin surge over 250% afterward, framed as confidence in Bitcoin's role as crypto's core store of value. So people see this move as Binance trying to regain the trust from public, trying to do the good publicity so that users or basically the investors in a crypto market would be happier. Let's see if this is enough. And the timing wise is very interesting. Like, why are they announcing this news right now, right at this instance? So let's see if there will be any positive flow to Bitcoin's price. But clean takeaway for 1010. So 1010 wasn't just a bad trading day. It exposed a structural weakness in crypto markets, actually. Binance is the easiest target because it is the biggest player. But the deeper issue is leverage, is thin liquidity, and a market that still hasn't rebuilt trust. This wasn't about if something would break, it's about when. And until liquidity fully returns, events like 1010 will continue to haunt this market. I'm afraid to break it to you. So speaking of crypto and also Bitcoin, since Binance is buying Bitcoin, let's see if it's being reflected on the Bitcoin's price action right now. So Bitcoin is trading at $76,000. This is a level. So if you watch my show, then you know that I call the local bottom. I don't think this is going to be the cycle bottom, but 77K. So basically this range, this rectangle that I drew from 75 to 77. So this range is there is strong support around this range. So I had a bunch of buy orders around 77K. That being said, I do not think this is the cycle bottom. I think there's a lot, we're going to go a lot lower in this bear market. So don't worry about that. But 77K, I do see a strong support. Maybe we're going to stay here for a couple of days, maybe like a week or two before heading lower. But regardless, for your portfolio, I think it's always good to separate a investing mindset and trading mindset. So if you are more like focused on the long term, then DCA, slowly buy a little bit of BTC, that would make sense. And you could just like forget about BTC because in the next 5 years, you're going to know that Bitcoin is going to go to higher places, definitely higher than previous all-time high or 126K. So that's the long-term mindset of investing. But like trading wise, trading is for quick flip of money. Because I have been shorting, I haven't been shorting a lot of Bitcoin, but like altcoins I've been shorting very heavily. And of course, I'm in profit after a few months. So I'm not complaining about the bear market. But remember, like, okay, if trading is a little bit too much because you have to look at the market so consistently, paying close attention to what's going on in the market, then just use the investing mindset. So DCA, like, although 77K, I don't think is the cycle bottom. I think we're going to head a lot lower. It's still a good entry point at this stage if you guys are into long-term investing. So yeah, so this box, the reason why I think there is strong support around here because it was the previous bottom. So we found bottom in April 2025, and same goes with like March, and then mid-March and beginning of March, and then we happen to find some resistance here. So prior resistance is going to be our future support. This is why I call this region, this range, and why I got in a little bit of spot order. So I got in a small purchase, but I don't think this is going to be the bottom. So the reason why I think we could spend a little bit time around this region. So I don't think we're going to go straight to something crazy to like 60 something K next day. Like, I know there was a huge crash. So just over the weekend, we crashed from like around 90K, so 89K, 89.5K, to a low of 74k. So that was like a 16% crash in a matter of 3 or 4 days. That was a very scary time for sure. But anyways, I do not think we are going straight to hell. So we're not going straight to like 60k region. The reason why I'll say this is, okay, if you've been watching my previous shows, you know one indicator I like using, and I found it quite useful in trading. So trading mentality, not investor mentality, okay? So trading mentality, this 1 day cycle time frame, I happen to find it really helpful. So how it works is a little bit like RSI. So when we get close to like 80, that means is we are getting a little bit too hot. It's a little bit overvalue, and same goes for around like 20. So it's just like a brief range we can look at. And if we draw and if we zoom closer, whenever this 1 day cycle gets to the top, so around 80, or sometimes we went over, so we went to like 98, something crazy, but 80 is a good metric we can look at. So whenever we get to 80, if we align that to Bitcoin's price, that happened to be the top. And of course, we're starting from daily candle of BTC, so like shorter time frame is good for swing trader. So swing trading. So that's what I always do. So whenever we get to 80, there's a top on Bitcoin price. Here it happened again. So on 16th of January, so we saw the top, and here again, so 6th of January, that was the Bitcoin top. And how this wave would play out. So for a full wave to play out, it takes like a week. So in other words, since we dropped so much already, and since for an entire wave to play out, it takes like a week, so maybe sometimes a little over a week, roughly 10 days. So that means in the next like coming days, in the short term at the very least, we're gonna have like we're gonna consolidate a little bit, or maybe like try to get up to this consolidation period, so like 84k. Though I don't think we're gonna stay there for very long. So I'm not seeing any strength right here. So again, since the cycle time frame, that is we dropped so much to a local bottom, we're going to consolidate for a few days before heading lower. So don't worry, we're going to head lower. This is what TA has been telling us, and that's what it has been saving me a lot of money, like from altcoins. So sold a bunch of altcoins position and also pull a short. So end up like TA is saving me again. And one thing is from my personal experience, because I talk to a lot of institutions, I talk to a lot of TradFi people, there seems to be a deviation between the crypto market and also TradFi people, institutions people. So they happen to use some macro mentality. So macro economy is getting better. We know Donald Trump or whoever he nominate for the Fed chair is going to lower rate. So there's like a lot of positivity coming from Donald Trump because of the current administration. So that is a narrative that TradFi people like to use. But like, again, if it's not really being reflected on my chart, then yeah, I'm sticking to what has been working and what has been making me consistent profits so far. All right, so that is the daily. And I have to give a quick shout out of this cycle time frame because it has been so helpful, and it has been like, okay, this is a lagging indicator, but since it managed to call the top of Bitcoin's price a lot of times, I have to give a quick shout out to Strategy Master. So if you guys are very curious about this indicator that I use, I pull it from Strategy Master, and he's on Substack, so do give him a follow. And he posts constant notes about the market, his position. So point being, do check out, or maybe check out his indicators as well. So hopping on to the weekly, so 1 week candle slowly building up that time frame, there is even more bearishness I'm seeing from the charts. So I don't know what TradFi people are on about. I don't understand why people still do not think this is a bear market and think we're going to see an all-time high and super cycle in 2026. All right, so daily, I talk about how 77K is just a local bottom. It's not a cycle bottom. And another bearishness that I saw from the weekly candle is that, okay, first of all, we were consolidating inside this range for a few months, and we broke below this range. This is bearish signal number, oh, that is horrible drawings. Sorry about that. So bearish signal number 1. So we broke below the consolidation period because on the weekly candle, we literally just have a fresh candle on Monday. So we just have a fresh candle today. And it broke below the consolidation period, this range. This is like a critical support that I'm watching. This is signal number 1 on the weekly candle. Signal number 2, so let's go ahead and close this range because it's a little bit annoying to watch. So this range. What I did is I pulled out the Ichimoku cloud. And then Ichimoku cloud, so this weekly candle, we now have confirmation that we are closing below the Ichimoku cloud. So the leading span B pink line at the bottom. This is another very, very bearish signal that I'm seeing. Because like wicking, it doesn't count. Like this candle, we wick below the leading span B, but it's fine. But this weekly candle will actually close below leading span B. So right here, that is another bearishness I'm seeing. And not to mention, we got out of the consolidation period. And third reason is that this relief rally has been extremely disappointing. So let me close the consolidation range. So why I call this a relief rally, and I've been talking about that for weeks, like for a very, very long time. Can't remember exactly when. So I talked about the relief rally, and looks like it was right. So from late November, we rally up to 98K. Because usually, if we zoom out, this is the 50 SMA that we're watching, the blue line. Just focus on blue line for now. Okay, so the previous cycle, we dropped below the 50 SMA. And then what we did is that we consolidate a little bit for months. And then there's a strong rally up to the 50 SMA again. So before losing that completely and find a bottom of 15.6K, somewhere around that. But this time, the relief rally has been so disappointing. And we got very close, okay? The relief rally was sitting, okay, so the 50 SMA, it was 101K, 101.5K, somewhere around that. And we rallied to 98K. So yeah, in other words, there isn't much strength that I'm seeing. So even the relief rally is weak. I'm not seeing any strength. So that is bearish signal number 3. All right, let's hop on to 2 weeks. We're building up that time frame, building up that mentality. And as for 2 weeks, of course, we have to pull out the SMA 50 again. So on the 2 weeks, we dropped below the 50 SMA. So the blue line was sitting at $87,000. We went below that. And then right now it's sitting at 76K. Like, why I focus on this? Because today, Monday, we have a fresh candle, not only on the weekly, but also on the 2 week as well. So that's why daily, weekly, and 2 weeks, I am not seeing any basically strength, and it's only bearish signals that I'm spotting. So of course, people like to ask me another question: how low could we go? Like, I'm not calling something crazy. So I see some analysts are saying, okay, maybe we're going to go to 30K or like 15K. I even seen 15K before. So there are a general rule of thumb. We dropped below the 50-week moving average for 2 consecutive weekly candles. That is definition of bear market. And if we lose the 50, we're heading to the 200 week. So 200 week, of course, slowly going to catch up. So by the time we reach October, so 5th of October, it might be like around like 60K or 70K, somewhere around that. Like it's just like a very rough estimate. But like last cycle, 2022, we went even below the where was that? So 200 week moving average. So that is something we could bear in mind. But right now, like the 200 week is a level that I'm watching, and other basically, and some analysts like to say is that, okay, if Bitcoin lose the 50 week, and usually for a bear market, the cycle bottom, it will just head back to the previous all-time high, and previous all-time high is 69K. So that is the numbers that people are watching. So let's see how it goes. But right now I'm watching the 200 week more, in my opinion. But we have to take this one at a time, because the charts, the probabilities of the outcomes will change accordingly. So that's why we're doing these daily live shows. All right, so that was a quick update. Well, actually not that quick, but all right, so past liquidation, past 24 hours liquidation, ETH sitting at number one, so $277 million in ETH got liquidated. And then Bitcoin, $252 million got liquidated. 24 hours, $796 million got racked. So point being, try to stay away from leverage, especially during volatile time like this, because you're gonna get wiped out. All right, so last thing I want to talk about before we end the show. This is a very wild crypto stories that we haven't seen in a very long time. So this is something very juicy, so bear with us. This is a breakup drama, part like crypto scandal yet again. So it involves Justin's son and his ex-girlfriend, so ex-girlfriend Zhang Ying, and she's now accusing Justin's son of being a scammer behind the TRX token. And a big reason that has exploded is quite personal for Zhang Ying. She says Justin's son promised to marry her, but it never come true, so it never happened. At the same time, she claims that he was dating other women non-stop. So that's why she's very pissed, and she tried to expose everything about Justin's son. So that personal fallout now has turned into public accusations and is pulling the entire crypto community into drama. There are actually many allegations in her multiple Twitter posts. So if you guys are interested to read, give it a read. So here's her Twitter. So she posted a lot about okay, she happened to have an Epstein files of the crypto world. Of course, that is a direct shot at Justin's son. So if you guys are interested, you know where to watch the drama. So what happened? What happened over the weekend? So this person, I'll give you a little background. So she is a Chinese crypto figure. Name is Zhang Ying. Went public on X, so she accused Justin's son, the founder of Tron, of massive market manipulation during TRX early days. So her post, let's go back to the original post. So this post went viral with 3.7 million views, thousands of comments, and crypto Twitter lit up overnight because of this news. So she is not a nobody. She is a long-term finance and crypto blogger with a kind of a large following, so 65K followers. She studied finance. She has been crypto for years. She also says she personally dated Justin's son during the early launch phase of TRX. So that personal link is what made people stop and pay attention. So she claims TRX, so that's the token, in the early days, like everything is not organic. Like the pump, it was just man-made. So she alleges that Justin Sun used multiple accounts to trade TRX, pumped the price during the 2017 to 2018 bull market, then sold heavily into retail buyers. So in other words, what she's saying is that TRX was pumped internally and regular investors paid the price. She also claims that this is how Justin Sun built his early fortune. And in her post, she mentioned Binance as well. So some of her claims involved trading activity on Binance during that period. She suggests coordinated buying and selling happened there. So important point here is that, okay, no exchanges has confirmed this, and no evidence has been independently verified. So these are just allegations, so not proven facts. But what Zheng Ying is saying, so she has chat records, she has documents and insider testimony. She said what she has shared so far is only a very small part. That line alone poured gasoline on the whole story. So Zheng Ying publicly said she was willing to cooperate with the US authorities. She specifically mentioned the SEC, and she asked for investigators to contact her. As of now, there's no confirmation of any investigation just yet. And of course, like Justin Sun will keep it short. Like he's like, okay, this is just fun. No long statement. But like according to Zheng Ying, she posted this an hour ago. So she's saying, okay, she wants nothing to do with the money, and basically, Justin Sun has been threatening him. So it's very intriguing, very dramatic. So Justin Sun sending money to hire KOLs to smear me, fabricating stories that I tried to borrow money from you after blowing up my positions and failed, then started spreading false information through the SEC to launch a large-scale smear campaign against me. So a lot of juiciness over on Crypto Twitter, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Justin Sun has faced regulators before. It's not like his first time, and is quite used to that publicity anyway. He has been accused in the past of market manipulation and unregistered securities activity. Some cases were dropped or paused, and that history is why this story feels bigger than just gossip. But again, nothing new has been proven. TRX token moved slightly lower during that noise, but like zooming out is actually is a parabolic move, and we zoom all the way out is like how many percent? So 11,000%, 11,000 gain for TRX token. And if we compare that to its previous all-time high, it's actually not down that much. So the previous all-time high happened in December 2024, so a year ago. It's down 34%, but like for altcoin standard, it's not like the worst. Like Bitcoin is down like 40% as well. So yeah, it's not like it's not a huge deal for altcoin standards. So yeah, Bitcoin down 40% from its all-time high. But more importantly, okay, this reignite debate about early crypto market practices, wash trading, so TRX wash trading, insider advantage, and lack of transparency. Why this story is everywhere on crypto, everywhere on Twitter. It's like, let's be honest, it has everything that crypto community loves. So it involves a billionaire, it involves a ex-lover, and a large scams, regulators, and some evidence are coming soon. So that's why everyone is paying attention and spreading so fast on the internet. But like, this is just a juicy news, clean takeaway. Like, these are serious allegations coming from Zheng Ying, but they are still unverified. So no documents have been independently confirmed. No regulators have announced action. Like for now, this is a public accusation, a personal fallout, and a stress test for trust in crypto's early history. If evidence emerges, this could become a major legal story. If not, it may fade into another chapter of crypto drama. Either way, it reminds us one thing, like crypto's past is still catching up with its present. So we'll be watching how the story goes. All right, so last call to action before we end the show. Make sure to give us a follow on Twitter. So my personal Twitter is champion_crypto_io. Make sure to follow Roxham TV as well, because we have regular updates about the world. So we talk about global news and not just Bitcoin. Talk about Donald Trump or AI. So point being, there's so much valuable content here on Roxham TV that you don't want to miss. So make sure to give us a follow. My show is from Monday to Friday, starting at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. If you don't manage to catch my show live, don't worry, the replay is also available on both channels, so being Jam Crypto YouTube channel and also Roxham TV YouTube channel. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in tomorrow's show.